And now I get to work with a good-looking man. He's the best running back in the history of the Giants, but I hate to tell you, he's the second best running back in the history of New York. Tiki Barber. Hi,
come
Tiki.
on. Is this the Curtis Martin thing that BT likes to throw all the time? I'm doing good, Evan.
It ain't John Riggins, that's for sure.
I almost feel like the first day of school again. BT and I were just talking about this as he was walking out of the studio, my longtime former partner. I left my headphones at home.
What are you doing?
I haven't had cans on in decades.
What,
I don't know why. I kind of feel like I look silly, but nobody can really see me right now. But
you got to come
I still feel
prepared,
good.
man. We're doing a freaking radio show, and you forgot your headphones at home?
Sorry, dude.
You're off to a flying start.
Exactly. But I'll be all right.
I look forward to working with you. Sean Morash, you'll get to know him as time rolls on. Tommy Lugauer is still with the show. Let me tell you, what a job he did last week with Joe Beningo. That was unbelievable. As I was driving to Fenway, I said, I need to listen to Loogie and Beningo, and you guys did a great job. One quick thing before we get to the Yankees. I want to make this very clear because this always pisses me off. The New York Yankees played a team this weekend. That team sucks. We all understand that. We all know the Kansas City Royals are awful, and they're on pace to lose 115 games. You don't take wins away when you beat the team in front of you. Mm-hmm. I call it the A-Rod syndrome. So for a while, Alex Rodriguez would hit the crap out of the ball in May, June, July, and guys like Sean Morash would say, it doesn't matter, it's not October. You can't hit in October in May, and you can't beat a good team when you play the Royals. They're the team you're facing. So I'm not here, Tiki, to declare the Yankees are back and everything's fine. I'm just here to say they did their freaking job, and they beat a crappy team 3 days in a row.
Sometimes you're supposed to take care of business. You face an opponent you know you're better than. They know that you're better than them, and you're supposed to beat them.
That's right.
And that's what the Yankees did. So you give them credit for that. It's not that you're now absolving the Yankees of all the faults that they've had over the last 2.5 months or so, including, most importantly, Aaron Judge. It's not even really his fault, but the fact that he's not there and they went into a slump as soon as he disappeared, right? That's nobody's fault but the players. And there's many ways to dissect it. I know people get on Cashman all day. I know people starting to get on Aaron Boone because of how he's managed some of this team, some of the games in this slump that they've been on. But ultimately, the accountability falls on the guys that put on their jock straps, put in their cups, and go try to win baseball.
You think
games.
every player wears a cup, though, these days?
I mean, I would.
Did you?
I'm not playing football.
When we played softball 3 weeks ago, did you put the cup on?
I did not have a cup on.
Exactly.
You know what? If there is the chance that a ball is going to take a wrong hop and hit me where it hurts, there's no chance.
You were diving.
I would absolutely wear a cup.
You were diving through the air making catches. There was a possibility of a lot of crazy crap happening.
Yes, you're right. But I was responsible as a player.
I got you.
I made the play I needed to make.
You're right about players, and it's funny. So I'm watching this weekend as much as I can. I was in Boston. More on that later, and the fraud that Fenway Park has on all its customers, which I'll expose later on in the show. But I'm watching specifically yesterday, and on that play where Giancarlo Stanton was tiptoeing around the bases, that was unbelievable to watch. It kind of hit me as I'm watching him gallivant around the bases. He really is their most important guy. And I fact-checked myself here because this was an emotional response that when Giancarlo Stanton plays baseball and he's actually effective, which hasn't been the case that much over the last couple of years, the Yankees tend to win. Now, we've said that a lot about Aaron Judge over the last few years, and it's bared out in facts. I looked it up over the last 3 years. When Giancarlo Stanton plays baseball for the New York Yankees, in 2022, when he played, they won 65% of their games. 65% of their games. Wow. When he didn't play, they won 54% of their games. A year earlier, same thing. He really is.
What is it this year?
What is it? It's not good this year.
I was going to say, he's hitting 207.
Because that's the point, though. They need him. They need an effective Giancarlo Stanton. We've talked about DJ and Anthony Rizzo. Glaber's been solid mostly this year. But offensively, the guy they need the most to step up, and he really hasn't until recently, is Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, but when you say that, it makes it sound like without him, the Yankees can't win. Without Giancarlo Stanton,
they can't
home run. Well,
have they won anything since?
Right now
they've relied on him.
Obviously, you're excluding Aaron Judge. You obviously are excluding Aaron Judge,
right, so
even though those statistics that you wrapped around with Giancarlo Stanton over the last couple of years, 65% of his wins. Let's not forget Aaron Judge had his Herculean season a year
when
ago.
Giancarlo wasn't playing and they won 54% of their games, what happened to Aaron Judge? Was he miraculously not there?
No, he wasn't in a contract year. So it is what it is.
Look,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're trying to say. But Giancarlo Stanton is compromised at this point. I'm not saying he's not a valuable player for the New York Yankees. Of course he is, because if you have a guy who can run into a home run and when he misses and it goes 420 feet, it's fantastic. But Giancarlo Stanton is a liability as an athlete at this stage.
He's a liability running the bases. When he plays the outfield,
isn't that part of the game?
But he was still able to score from first on that Rizzo play.
Yeah, barely.
It took him an hour. You need a sundial for it, but he made it.
I honestly thought he hurt himself when he slid. I'm not even joking.
Was that a slide or was that a fall?
Why did he slide? It was odd to me. It was almost like he didn't want to hurt himself again. If you back up to when he hurt his hamstring, how did he do that? He was slowing down into second base. I think he slid because he didn't want to hurt himself.
How do you slow down from slow? Like, he was never actually running on that play.
It doesn't matter. Why did he slide?
I think because he saw the throw was coming in, and there was probably someone behind the plate. I've only watched this clip 13 times in a row. Maybe I need a 14th. But there had to have been a player signaling, get down, and then... Like last year, I tried to do the Trey Turner slide. You know the Trey Turner slide, the cool-ass slide?
Yes.
A slide you probably
slide
can do.
And you swipe the... He was trying to do that, by the way.
Yes.
He was absolutely trying to do the Trey Turner slide where you slide past the plate and just stick your hand and run it across.
Yeah, it's like a cool-ass slide.
Yeah, it looks cool. But
it's like something you would be able to do.
But then
I would not be able to do.
You got to be able to stand up, put your cleat in the ground at just the right time so that it catches your momentum, but your momentum's still going forward so that you carry yourself back onto your feet and you look cool.
Imagine if after all that, Giancarlo's barely rounding the bases. He gets hurt falling down in an attempt to slide.
I thought he hurt himself when he slid.
Well, but here's the thing. Obviously, if Aaron Judge comes back, as we saw last year and we saw this year, the Yankees are a completely different lineup. We all know that. We all know how important he is. And with a week to go in the trade deadline, they need to improve this roster, specifically in left field. But all the while, Giancarlo Stanton needs to be the guy, at least 70% of the guy they thought they were acquiring in 2018.
I mean, come on.
Because without him, what's this lineup?
But it's 5 years ago.
I understand.
I think 5 years ago, Giancarlo Stanton felt like a Herculean player. He felt like a masher. He felt like an Adonis.
He still can be.
No, he can't, because he's not that athlete anymore. He's not that he never was nimble because he's just too muscular, but he never feels now like he's an elite athlete.
He doesn't have to be an elite athlete. He needs to hit the ball over the freaking fence, which he can still do, and he's at a pace to do if he plays 35, 40 times a year. Like, he can still hit the ball over the fence.
But then you throw him in right field because you have to. And by the way, when Judge comes back, you're still going to have to throw him in right field. Judge isn't going to be playing right field every day.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
And so the likelihood of Giancarlo Stanton, who's not an elite athlete, I was talking to BT about this 2 weeks ago. There was a foul ball when he first came back going into the right field stands. And as soon as you hit it, that's an out. Yeah, it's maybe going to get, that's an out. He gingerly got himself right over there and then looked so awkward trying not to hit the wall, just like he was trying not to hit the home plate. He looked so awkward. I said his athleticism is gone.
But he doesn't have
confidence in his athleticism anymore.
You're not wrong with that, but all he needs to do is hit. That's what the Yankees are missing. Offensively, there's a reason why this has been an incredibly meek offense over the last few months.
Runs, you mean?
He needs to hit the ball over the fence, and he can.
He can.
Yes.
When he's not woefully missing.
When he gets base hits, the Yankees win games. When he scores runs, the Yankees win games. And while he's not Aaron Judge, he's the closest facsimile they have to a hulking slugger.
Come on, that's insulting to Aaron Judge. What are you talking
about? I'm not
saying
he's the closest thing. What, is DJ LeMahieu remind you of it?
No.
Is Anthony Rizzo?
No, I mean.
We're all celebrating 4 for 4 from Anthony Rizzo. Let's say him do that for a few weeks.
But I would love Anthony Rizzo to be 4 for 4. I can't see. I think we're discounting what Aaron Judge is and who he is. And this is why I've thought that this toe injury could be really bad for his future career. And not because I don't think he's going to be a star or hit home runs and do all those things, but his value to the Yankees obviously is smashing home runs. It's hitting timely, into the gaps. It's getting base hits when runners in scoring position. But it's also his defensive metrics.
He's a tremendous all-around player.
Tremendous right fielder. And he would have won a Gold Glove if he hadn't bounced around all over the place last year because how great he was in center and in right field. But without that in the outfield, you already don't have a left fielder. You don't have this, this level of play in right field. Harrison Bader's your only option for elite outfield play.
And by the way, Harrison Bader, I think reality has sunk in on what he is offensively. Like, this is such a bad offensive team the way they're presently constituted, which is why for them to make the postseason, and that's really the only focus right now. It's not about winning a World Series yet. They got to make the freaking playoffs first. They're 2 games back. They need either Aaron Judge healthy, or they're going to need to make a big deal. Or they're going to need the veteran players that have underperformed for months and months and months to get hot. And the one guy that can carry an offense in this lineup, Anthony Rizzo, as good as he is, and I have great respect for him, and I'm glad he had a nice day yesterday, can't carry an offense. DJ LeMahieu, even when he was La Machine a few years ago, cannot carry an offense.
What about Glaber?
We've seen, he's a nice player. He can carry an offense.
He's got 16 home runs.
That's a nice season.
Okay.
That's what he's had. He's
going to
nice
finish this season with 30-plus home runs.
That's a nice year.
Right? He's going to have an OPS at or around 800. Yeah. He's a good defender, even though he drives people crazy sometimes.
He's a real solid player.
With his mind-numbing decisions to be laissez-faire.
You don't carry an offense, though, man.
But who's going to carry it more?
Only guy in this lineup currently that can.
Okay, but that's
is Giancarlo
But
Stanton.
that's hitting home runs. That's what I mean, you're talking about home runs.
Yeah, home runs win now. I mean, you got to hit home runs.
Not all the time. I mean, it hasn't helped the Yankees in their woes over the last 2 months.
Because
they've had guys hitting home runs. Glaber's hit some home runs. Even Volpe's run into some. Volpe's got 13 home runs on the season. 13.
But Stanton is the one guy, and I give you this: he hasn't done it in a while. Like, really, you got to go back to 2018, 2019. But he is the one guy who could put fear in other starting pitchers and other relievers and other managers. He's the closest thing to it.
Fear.
Like, you think DJ LeMahieu's putting fear in anybody right now? He's only putting fear in Yankee fans when he comes up with guys on base.
Well, I mean, to me, fear is I trust this guy's going to get a hit. I trust this guy's going not hit a home run because that's not. I mean, it does win, but it's not everything in baseball. We've seen teams do it without, even though the Rays are a team that I thought was always going to be small ballish, and now they're mashing home runs.
By the way, let me just take a bow on the Rays. Ever since I called those frauds out, they're basically a 500 team. I just want to point that out.
Why did they stop cheating? Whatever it is you were intimating.
Those are your words, not mine. I'm just saying, ever since I opened up my mouth, they've been a very average team. It's funny, way back when the Yankees acquired Giancarlo Stanton, and they acquired him after 2017 when they got to the ALCS. They got to the 7th game. They made the deal for Stanton, and he initially did not ingratiate himself well to Yankee fans, not even with his first games, because I think he hit a couple of home runs in Toronto when he first came here. But his first games at Yankee Stadium, there were Yankee fans who had already turned on him, including Sean Morash.
Why?
Why'd you boo his ass on opening day?
Because he went 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts after being brought over to be an MVP-type player.
Okay,
That's
when
why.
you're a home
You
run
don't
hitter,
strike out 5 times
But when
on
you're a
opening
home
day.
run hitter, don't you do that sometimes?
Yeah, how about not the first day when fans get robbed of intros and first pitches and all of that, and you're the first player in Yankee Stadium history to go 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts on the team? How about that's not a good precedent
blaming
to set?
Stanton for the bad weather that forced them to cancel the player introductions?
No, but maybe just give the Yankee fan a little bit of a thrill. How about like a seeing eye single would be nice, but not 5 strikeouts?
But Sean, it's baseball. It's baseball.
Yeah, it's
Sometimes
baseball.
you go 0 for 5.
Yeah, with 5, Tiki, nobody in the history of the Yankees before that day had ever gone 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts.
Well, maybe he was trying too hard.
He did something in futility that nobody had ever done before. Now, he's had a couple decent moments in the postseason, but ultimately he's been one large disappointment.
So you haven't forgiven him? Like, there's been no moment
for opening day?
Well, yeah. Have you ever turned your emotions around on Giancarlo Stanton?
Sure. Have there been summer Saturday afternoons when they're playing the Red Sox and I'm in a bathing suit and I high-five somebody because he has a big hit? Sure. I don't boo him every step out of there, but I think that this recent stretch sums up Giancarlo Stanton's career as a Yankee. When needed the most to carry this team, they have now fallen and bowed out of the playoffs here 2 games out.
Yeah, but wait a second. In fairness, though, here's the weird legacy of Giancarlo Stanton. And you kind of touched on it, but you didn't give him enough credit for it. Yankee fans in general judge guys on what they do in October, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's why Nick Swisher you look back on as a choke artist because he hit like 150 as an October baseball player. When Giancarlo Stanton has gotten to October, he's actually been damn good.
Not more often than not, he hasn't been.
He's been better than Aaron Judge has been in the postseason.
You know when Giancarlo was good? 3 hits in that one-game wild card versus Boston, and the year before in the bubble, again, no fans to boo you in front of. You were awesome. Look at before that. He had one series, I think, with Houston where he hit like 286. Other than that, 2019, couldn't hit versus the Twins. Couldn't hit versus Boston in 2018. Last year was a basic 0 versus the Astros.
Well, everybody was, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, everybody was. If he's one of the highest-paid players on the team, I'm sorry, he's right up there. He needs to perform when the stage is greatest. And the idea that he's been this great October player is kind of false.
He's been a better October player than most. He has been better than Aaron Judge.
But still has not been good enough. Just because you're better than Josh Donaldson in the postseason or Gary Sanchez in the postseason doesn't mean it's also been good enough.
No, he hasn't been like an epic postseason performer by any stretch, but he has been their most consistent postseason player when they've gotten there. Now, the problem is this year, and here's their biggest problem this year, they've got to get there. And as we sit here today on July 24th, I'll ask you the question. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Craig will warn you about this. I write this crap down, okay? I don't want to hear you make a prediction on July 24th, and then on July 28th, like I forgot what you said, and now you're saying something else. Because I'll remind you what you said 4 days earlier. Are the New York Yankees making the postseason?
Yes.
They are.
They are making the postseason.
All right. So
New York Yankees are 2 games out of the wild card right now. Boston's in front of them.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Yankee fans.
But they're 2 games out of the wild card right now. Toronto is 2 games in front of them. That's immediate. That's the immediate one to catch. The Houston Astros are 4 games ahead of them.
And by the way,
or
quick
3
thing
games,
about the Astros. The Astros lost their best player, Yordan Alvarez. They have been a slightly above 500 team without him. So what they've done that the Yankees have been unable to do is just survive without their best player. And that's where the Yankees have failed. They haven't until these 3 games against Kansas City, which I give them credit for. They have not really survived without Aaron Judge.
Well, let me ask is Aaron Judge part of this conversation?
Well, I mean, none of us know.
Yes or no? If the answer is no, then they're not making the postseason.
Tiki, is he a part of the conversation? I can tell you word for word.
Is he playing? Is he part of the conversation? The assumption, because we're making an assumption here. Are the Yankees making the playoffs if Aaron Judge is back?
I think based on the fact that he's running, starting to hit, I think we have to make that assumption.
Yes.
But you know what we're going to get?
They're making the playoffs.
We're going to get sold in a week and a half. These lines from Brian Cashman as the deadline passes. You know, Nestor Cortez, Johnny Loizaga, and Aaron Judge, they're just as good as deadline acquisitions.
No. Hold on.
That line is coming, and that's exactly why they're not going to make the playoffs.
That's been used too many times. That's not happening.
Hold on one second.
He's not. I trust Cashman has learned from his mistake. Rhetoric.
Have you? Because I've heard the word crapshoot about the playoffs for 6 straight press conferences.
No, but this is about getting to the playoffs. Like, these moves that the Yankees will make in 8 days, within 8 days, is about making the postseason, not about the crapshoot of October. Sure. They've got to ensure they get there, and here's where you're wrong. I'm sorry, with all due respect. They've made trades every deadline. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not telling you they're all fantastic. Some of them have been better than others. You know, Todd Frazier and David Robertson versus Joey Gallo versus Anthony Rizzo versus Brandon McCarthy versus David Justice versus whatever deal you want me to come up with in the last 23 years. But they are active at the trade deadline. Like, I would be stupefied if the New York Yankees sat idly by, even in a potentially depressed trade market, and they don't make a deal. My only concern, and I can't believe this is real, is the idea, as Ken Rosenthal reported a week ago, that they actually would need to move money so that they stay under the luxury tax at the deadline. Now, if that happens, I have a big issue. Like, if they're doing something...
But that's the reality of this team.
No, it shouldn't be.
But it is.
What is? That they have to stay under a freaking tax?
Dude, teams have philosophies, and it's whether they're right or wrong doesn't matter, but they have a philosophy. The Yankees' philosophy, and you've heard them talk about this, is that they don't want to be so far over the luxury tax that they're helping their opponents, right?
You got to help yourself, though,
okay,
bro.
but you've heard them say that.
Yeah.
So that is their philosophy. They are not going to come off of that. And so if they can't make a deal that adheres to that, they're not going to make the deal.
So here's what that means then in my mind. It means, hypothetically, and I'm just making these trades up, they would trade a controllable starter like Clark Schmidt to the Reds for Jonathan India so that they could turn around and trade Gleyber Torres somewhere else so they can bring the payroll down.
Yeah.
That can't be what they do at the deadline.
But that's what they're doing.
No, but it can't be.
But what would they...
Sort of what they did with Montgomery last year.
Yeah, so why... think about the Montgomery trade. Why did they trade Jordan Montgomery? Because he wasn't going to start in the postseason?
That was the excuse given, yes.
But I mean, in their mind, that was exactly the reason why they moved him. And so they went and got an asset in Harrison Bader, who they felt like could contribute in the postseason. We got a guy who's not going to contribute. He's expendable. We need a center fielder because they can't have Aaron Judge running out there every day while he's trying to chase 65 home runs or 62 home runs, right? So Aaron Judge gets moved back to where he needs to be. Harrison Bader is fantastic in the postseason. And honestly, it was a strategically well-thought-out move, right? Now, it didn't work out because Bader was hurt for a lot of the regular season. He did play great in the postseason, and Jordan Montgomery actually is doing okay in St. Louis. And so it almost – you look at it retrospectively and say it was a bad trade. But in real time, it was the right trade.
No, but you're not good enough right now, and they weren't last year to a degree, to take something off of the Major League roster to help another area. Like, that's not where they are. What they need to do is improve this roster. And you asked something that's really the most important question that none of us know the answer to. Is Aaron Judge coming back? Like, we all saw the Yes Network, and I thought this was bizarre. So you can put your tinfoil hats on for this one. The Yes Network showed us an Aaron Judge simulated game with Jonathan Loaizaga. Like, we never see that kind of stuff.
Never.
All of a sudden, they're showing us highlights of Jonathan Loaizaga throwing to Aaron Judge.
Why would SNY show that?
No, Yes Network.
I mean, Yes Network. Why would Yes Network show that?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
To make everyone feel better, Aaron Judge is on his way back? To show that he's trying to come back?
Because it's more watchable than the actual Yankees?
Because that's the most interesting Yankee storyline right now. Is Aaron Judge coming back? I have no idea, but that is a rarity. Like, I very rarely remember either Yes or SNY showing us like basically a complete at-bat of a guy facing another guy in what was essentially a simulated game. And Aaron Judge is fouling these tough pitches off from Jonathan Loaizaga. And what are we supposed to take out of this? Like, what are we supposed to learn out of this? But whether Judge comes back or doesn't, and right now I lean towards he's coming back, I just don't know when. They still need to reinforce this roster in a week. And I'm going to tell you a very important reason why. And I remember saying this a month ago, but now we're here. When Aaron Judge went down, I looked at the schedule and said this on the air. They got to get to July 28th in a decent spot, and Aaron Judge needs to walk back through that door. And if they don't, they're going to miss the playoffs.
Okay, so it's almost July 28th.
Yeah.
They are actually in a decent spot, and they need Aaron Judge to walk back.
Correct.
But what kind of Aaron Judge are you getting is the question that's going to be the biggest one that we're not going to know until we see it.
No, and especially because Met fans are over here saying, wait a second, we look at Pete Alonso coming back from his injury, and even though he was slumping prior to that, he doesn't look like the same guy.
But he was a wrist. It's different, man. You have a toe injury?
It still affects you.
Probably more.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know specifically which guy walks through that door, but forget the Mets for a second, as much fun as the Subway Series is. After that, they play good teams. Not just good teams, but teams they're trying to catch. They play the Baltimore Orioles. They play the Tampa Bay Rays. They play the Houston Astros. And I thought they could survive without Judge against the softer part of their schedule. And up until recently, they really hadn't until these 3 wins against Kansas City. But starting on Friday, they need either Aaron Judge to walk through that door or for Brian Cashman not to rearrange the deck, but actually improve the roster.
But Evan, it's not happening.
What's not happening? Which one?
I think both. Aaron Judge is not walking through the door and becoming the savior for this middle part of this Yankee season. It's not happening. He's not walking through the door and all of a sudden Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. He's going to have 3 home runs in a game and chase down balls into the gap. That's not happening. And if he does come back and he play, it's going to be so limited. Or he's going to be so limited. Stanton's going to have to play right field. He's going to have to DH. And then all of the advantage of that elite athlete that Aaron Judge is, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. And so maybe they get a couple extra home runs. Is that helping them win games? I don't know.
Yeah, when you lose 2-1 games, a few extra home runs will help you.
It will. As a matter of fact, screw the simulated games. Get it back in here now. DHing.
They will.
And then he gets hurt. And then he's jacked up for the rest of his career because he retore a ligament in his toe that didn't fully heal.
Well, look, the injury situation with Judge is the thing none of us knows. None of us know, A, when he's going to come back, what he is, and B, the risk of re-injuring himself. The thing that I would feel more confident about is the certainty that they're going to do something by August 1st. Because Brian Cashman knows what I know and what you know and just about every other Yankee fan knows. They have to improve this roster. Because while Giancarlo Stanton becoming the guy from 2017 would certainly save things, and he is the one guy in this lineup most capable of carrying them, it's also a very unlikely scenario.
What made you, Giancarlo Stanton, happy today?
No, it's because
what made you?
I'll tell you why.
What made you want to love on Giancarlo?
It's not
Stanton
loving
today?
him. It's a reminder that, look, he's 4 for his last 8. It's not saying a lot. He's hit a bunch of home runs in the last few weeks, and it's a reminder on what he can be and the fact he's the only guy in this lineup right now who I think has shown he can carry a lineup. He's the only guy. Gleyber Torres isn't that player. Anthony Rizzo isn't that player. La Machine isn't that player.
Unless last night is an indication that Rizzo is out of it. But I hear you.
Look, unless Anthony Rizzo's making up for all the horrific at-bats over the last 2 months, I doubt that's going to happen. I really do.
I want to believe in Giancarlo Stanton. I do. Because, honestly, I look at the dude, and he's an enormous-looking athlete. He just looks the part. And I love when guys who look the part actually are the part, as opposed to being, injury-prone and not available and, playing in, what was the totals? Like 49% of the games that he's been available here, whatever that number is. I want him to be the part. I just watch him as an athlete. And maybe this is because I'm overemphasizing the slide. This slide made me look at him and say, what happened to you? Right? What happened to that baseball player that we know is in there that you don't even try anymore? And if it's because he's scared of getting hurt, there's no way you can be successful if you're scared of being hurt.
Let me ask you a question, because I've been thinking about this since yesterday. You think Sean Morash can go from third to home faster than Giancarlo Stanton did yesterday afternoon?
I absolutely do.
Do you think so?
I know
100%.
I timed it.
100%.
I know I can.
I got the
100%.
time on how long it took Stanton. It was 4.56 seconds.
You're big sexy, aren't you, Morash?
I am. I'm fit fat, and you're going to learn that real quick.
All right, so here's what we're going to do, because I want to see if this can happen. Maybe not now. I'll give you 25 minutes to prepare. At around 3 o'clock,
Stretch.
I want you to go down to the baseball field about a block and a half away. We'll bring a video camera because, of course, we need to see what this looks like. You call us, and we'll have the live video proof, and we'll see if you can beat him from third to home.
It's like muggy and 85 degrees out.
That's all right.
That's all right.
And you're wearing a white shirt, which is going to turn all of us on.
Yeah, not my wife when I have the pit stains when I get home, but all right.
And
fine.
by the way, one last request.
How do you get pit stains on a white shirt?
That's they turn yellow, dude.
Dude, what kind of deodorant are you using, man?
I'm not going to ruin a potential sponsorship deal, but I mean, T, what are you talking about?
Pit stains are clear.
So you've never gotten a yellow stain on a white shirt?
I don't think so.
Oh, to walk a day in your shoes, pal.
Can you please finish your run with a slide to home, just like Giancarlo?
It's the reason I was cut from seventh grade tournament team, but sure.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I believe he added an extra second to his time by clumsily falling to home plate. So you got to do the exact same thing.
It's the one athletic feat I'm terrible at is sliding in baseball, but I'll go for it. Sure.
See, I think Stan's going to beat him time-wise. I really do.
No. I can tell. I saw the video WFAN put out.
Oh, of him
You
walking here
in.
shirtless?
Yeah.
Big sexy.
And the
but-
camera added a few pounds, by the way. I think he's all screwed around with that.
By the way, it just hit me. Brilliant idea. Since it's hot outside and it's muggy, and since you didn't want to wear the white shirt, why don't you run from third to home without your shirt
No,
on?
then he's going to slide on the dirt. He's going to jack up his skin,
Good
man.
point.
You can't do
Yeah.
that,
No,
Al.
I have an undershirt. It's fine. We'll be all right.
All right. We'll get your calls coming up, 877-337-6666. I had some experiences down in Boston this weekend at Fenway Park, including one of the biggest fraud campaigns Fenway Park is lifting on all of their fans that we will expose on the show today. We'll mix in a lot of football.